Righty, welcome everyone. Nice to see a full house, so many interested in democracy. It's fantastic. We might do a lock-in actually, so you can't get out, so we've always got a full house. But I'd like now to welcome Michelle Coe from Connect Church, and if you can all be upstanding, and Michelle's going to lead us in prayer. Thank you.
Almighty God, who has called us together in community, grant us the wisdom and grace as we seek to serve our district. Take from us all selfishness, deliver us from narrow-mindedness, and grant that we may together seek the ways of truth and righteousness, to the honour and glory of your holy name, through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
Thanks, Michelle. Please stay standing, and Councillor Parker will lead us in the Waiata.
E re re ra e aku ai Māori, e maringi atura ki a koutou e. E re re ake aku ai Māori, e maringi atua ki a koutou e. Rangi tata ki runga puri rora ki e ta o ata kere nui yale we. E re a e aku ai mi e.
It's beautiful. Please be seated. Already, welcome everyone today. Special welcome to members of the public. Great to have you here. Also, special welcome to we've got Shane from Geraldine Community Board. Lovely to have you with us, and I think we might have some others joining us later. Apologies, I've just got an apology from Te Wera King. Any other apologies? No, I'll move that apology. Can I have a seconder? Councillor Shannon, thank you. Put the apologies. All those in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. Brilliant, thank you. Okay, so we've got a busy day, and we are going to get straight into public forum, and then I'm just going to rearrange after that the agenda item, because I do know that there's some that have got special interests that need to leave just in the council social housing space. So we're going to bring 9.15 towards the start of the agenda. We'll go now to a public forum, and first I'd like to welcome up Les Rawlings. Yeah, any of those, Les. Yeah, and just put, Kevin's going to help. Yeah, perfect. Yeah, you go for it. We're listening, and I'm sure there may be some questions, but the floor is yours, Les. Welcome.
Well, what I've got to say will be short and sharp. Opposition to the majority of them are here. Right, I'm here today to voice my opposition to the Theatre Royal rebuild while I'm still alive. Last week, the International Monetary Fund advised the government not to borrow any more money. I presume this is directed at councils also, as you use the government to access more loans and at a low interest rate. Last year, Nigel, you told me you have access to money at less than 5%. I read in the paper your staff have advised you that it'd be more like 5%. If you take a 50-year loan, which I presume you're looking at this rate of interest, it could cost each ratepayer around about $500 a year. I dare you to put this referendum out and ask the people, if they're prepared to vote for this. I doubt it very much. Last week, Michael Laws had an opinion piece on the platform. You all need to have a look at this on YouTube, 18th of March last week. Here are some of the words he used on councils: inefficient, incompetent, overstaffed, wasteful, overpaid, manipulative. As to what happened when you allowed B. Karen to spend $40 million on consultants, big as belief. I gather you're all asleep at the wheel. As the Thearoa itself, I know you are including a conference centre in your design. That need is history. With the event of Skype, most meetings have very few physical attendees. Once upon a time, you had a financial university lecturer as a council member, Tony Bryan. The public of Timaru voted him out. He was one of the few that had a sane limit logic to the amount of money you were borrowing. You never gave him a chance or listened to him. What am I going to say? You know, in my opinion, you lot are out of your depth as to the implications of what you are getting up to in Timaru. Council has the potential to go to bankrupt if you proceed to borrow $60 million for this theatre. I won't be around to see the day, but it could happen thanks to you lot. If you proceed with this white elephant, God knows what's going to happen to Timaru, because you could be put into bankrupt if you don't pay the bills, and that's going to end up on every ratepayer's account in the end. I think old Ron Bishop will be looking down from up above to what you lot are up to today. So what I'm getting at is mainly aimed at you councillors. You're mad.
Any questions for Les?
Quite happy to answer them.
Look, what I'd say in reply, Les, from the 12th, is it, of April, is it correct, through to 12th of May, we're going out consulting on our long-term plan. So the plan in regard to debt and revenue, etc., is all lined out. And then, so as I've said before, happy to speak directly to anyone in the community, and also we'll have a special meeting for anyone involved in the Ratepayers Association, so we can talk through that plan in detail. And you'll all have the opportunity. I'm sure you'll get this one last opportunity to give us some further feedback with submissions later this year.
I'm booked in for it.
Perfect. Thanks, Les. Appreciate that. Alrighty, on the theme of the theatre, welcome Jess and Aaron from the Start Group.
Just making sure everyone can hear. Cool. Tēnā koutou ngā mihi for this opportunity to whai kōrero. My name's Jess Young, this is Aaron Seeger. We're here today as representatives from START, Save Timaru's Arts and Rebuild Our Theatre. START is a group of about 250 locals, some of whom are in the room with us today, who are tired of the Theatre Royal and Heritage Hub being continually dragged out and just want the Timaru District Council to start the project. We began this group as we, and others we spoke to, were concerned about the level of misinformation and disinformation out there by those opposing the project, while there seemed to be a distinct lack of loud voices in support. In particular, voices with faces and real names attached to them, who would not be afraid to speak publicly, rather than hide behind anonymity and ad hominem arguments. In preparation for our submission today, START sent out a list of questions to the Council, which was responded to under the Local Government Official Information and Meetings Act 1987. The facts and figures we will be referring to come directly from this document. We will also be referring to the recent Ministry of Culture and Heritage report, named Everybody Loves Arts, Culture and Heritage, and the Timaru District Council's Long-Term Plan 2021 to 31. START acknowledges that there are general grumblings in the community due to the multiple hold-ups and highly publicised blow-up of costs. We are not here to whinge about that. There has been plenty of time for whinging, years in fact, and as I always tell my kids, whinging will get you nowhere. Instead, we are here to highlight the incredible opportunities that are within an arm's reach. In the long-term plan, the Council decided that it would approve an enabling role in the regeneration of a vibrant Timaru city hub. The word regeneration is key here, when you take into consideration the fact that the last times Timaru District Council spent large lump sums on arts, culture and heritage, known in academic terms as humanities, were in 2016 to 19, when updates were made to exhibit displays at the Perth Street South Canterbury Museum, in 2000, when the South Canterbury Museum was upgraded, and in 1993, when the Theatre Royal front atrium was refurbished and its auditorium was restored and strengthened. 1993 and 2000 were 31 and 24 years ago, respectively. This means that at least an entire generation of Timaruvians have lived without any major expenditure being made towards these amenities. With the proximity of the Theatre Royal and Heritage Hub to the CBD, this is prime opportunity to achieve these goals from the long-term plan. While there has been much talk made in the media of the $57.1 million budget agreed upon for both buildings, there has been little clarification available to the public in the breakdown of this budget. 57.1 million minus the MB funding of 11.6 million means each building is calculated to cost 22.75 million. We would also like to point out that the Council has not commissioned work to undertake an estimated cost calculation of what economic contribution the rebuilt Theatre Royal and Heritage Hub will make towards the region. According to the latest Ministry of Culture and Heritage report findings, 29% of adult New Zealanders reported going to a museum in the last 3 months, and 1 in 5 adult New Zealanders reported attending a musical, dance or theatre performance in the last 3 months. The figures are collated from people living in New Zealand. They do not include visitors from other countries, for example, passengers from cruise ships who are here for the day. Luckily, our own museum collated data relevant to this. 6 to 10% of passengers this season from any given cruise ship was likely to enter the museum. Based on these figures, it could be easy enough to punch out some numbers and give a rough estimate to appease the pecuniary-minded of us. We're not going to do that. If economic contribution was a factor in the Council's decision-making process to do with this project, this avenue surely would have already been explored. The Council's long-term plan clearly states its recognition of cultural and learning facilities to have a particular contribution to the following community wellbeing outcomes: connected citizens, enhanced lifestyle, sustainable environment. Another opportunity that Start Believe deserves huge furore is that the Theatre Royal and Heritage Hub is a shared space. This is a real point of difference in New Zealand, and we are extremely excited about that. In the long-term plan, the Council strategised that it would enhance community wellbeing with focus areas such as developing and maintaining shared spaces that support community activity, diversity, and foster pride, and providing future-proofed services and facilities to enhance the community. Having a symbiotic relationship between our arts and culture and our heritage makes sense in so many ways. It is the exact kind of innovation that is needed to ensure that the resilience and accessibilities of these facilities hold up for future generations. The ability for shared exhibition, conferencing, and performance space, and potentially hybrid staff, is going to open up many more doors for both local and visiting creatives. We have the plans, we have MB funding available, the start button is within reach, and our rates are going up the same amount whether you hit that button or not. Let's jump at this opportunity towards regeneration, connected citizens, and enhanced lifestyle that is at our fingertips. Let's choose to invest in our arts, culture, and heritage that will support community activity, diversity, and foster pride. Let's offer New Zealand something unique, innovative, and resilient. Let's hit start now. Thank you.
Awesome, thanks. Do you see any questions, team? Thank you, and great to see both sides represented in the debate, so I really appreciate that. Another side now will be represented, so I'd like to welcome John Simpson from the South Canterbury Museum Development Trust. Welcome, John.
Kia ora everybody, John Simpson. I chair the South Canterbury Museum Development Trust. A little bit of background. The South Canterbury Museum Development Trust has been active in Timaru for the last 25 years, and our role is to raise funds for the development of the district's key museum. The Trust has raised $600,000 for various projects, including a building extension, education room refit, local historical film and publication productions, exhibition development and exhibition purchases. Subsequently, the Trust has now raised a further $600,000 towards the development of world-class exhibitions in the planned new facility, and will continue doing so to reach an estimated $3 million target figure, with $2 million of that now available. We believe that by progressing this project to completion, the Council is ensuring that our district has key cultural infrastructure in place that will serve our community for decades into the future. Timaru was well provided for with sporting facilities, and I believe, and so too does our board, we need the cultural facilities to match. To quote a 1926 local promotional document, this will help make our region an ideal place to holiday, to work, and to live. The current museum's post-COVID visitor numbers increase shows how this new development will benefit our district by increasing community use and benefit of a modern, accessible museum with touring exhibitions and heritage-related events that Timaru residents are currently missing out on. Creating an improved educational asset for schools to explore local heritage and curriculum, and providing an important component to Timaru's tourism sector. While museums and theatres are not self-funding, this new combined facility will be able to generate a high level of revenue through a wide range of activities. The South Canterbury Museum Development Trust is proud of its support for the current museum, and we will continue to support the new facility for the benefit of our community. On a personal note, and a not so fun fact, today is actually the anniversary of our lockdown 4 years ago. And that's a pretty hard-hitting fact because I don't know about the rest of you, but I find that 4 years has gone relatively fast. In fact, too fast. I would love to see the Heritage Hub underway and gathering some momentum. Our existing museum, just a little bit of background, was rebuilt in 1962 and an extension completed, as Start have alluded to, in 2000. The Museum Development Trust helped fundraise for that extension. Our community needs this project to come to fruition. The project is a long-term investment in Timaru's future, and we trust the Council will see the positives in providing Timaru with a multi-purpose, multi-user, state-of-the-art facility. And my final comment is, I believe that Timaru maybe has lost a little bit of its mojo, and I'm hoping that Council can help get it back. Thank you.
Thanks, John. Lost their mojo. Questions for John at all? No, thank you. Great to have all sides of the stories represented. I'm conscious also that we've got the Royal and Heritage Facility closeout detailed design items, so because there's a lot of interest in the public realm, we'll bring that forward as well. So if there's anyone that does want to leave early after that, you may do. It isn't the decision day. That's a few months away yet. But we don't have all the final numbers, so we can't tell you until we know, because we don't know. But we'll bring that forward on the agenda. Now, I've got one more item on public forum, and I'd like to welcome, and this is slightly tied to the social housing discussion, and I'd like to welcome Jackie up to us. Sorry, Jackie, and it's Michelle. My apologies, and Michelle. Thank you. Welcome. And again, the floor is yours, ladies.
Te rangi, te whenua, te whare, te iwi, tēnā koutou. My name is Jackie Giles, and I've been driven to speak today as a recent former council housing resident and concerned community member after watching the last council meeting on YouTube where you discussed rates and charges in relation to the long-term plan.
Ko Michelle Marshall aho. I have also come today as a both interested and concerned resident to discuss council social housing. Firstly, I don't envy your position at the moment as both councillors and council officers. I know it's a very challenging long-term plan that you're pulling together, and we'd like to thank you for the service that you give to our community. On to social housing, the 236 council social houses within the district fill a need for the community for quality and affordable housing for those in need. In the last LTP, you stated that the purpose of this housing was to build strong, connective and supportive communities and to assist the most vulnerable in our community, the elderly and those with disabilities, some of which join us today. The last LTP also states that the council social housing is required to be self-funding with no rates input. I note from last month's meeting that this was confirmed by council officers in attendance. Mr. Mayor, last month the council discussed increasing the rents, and you stated that you believed that central government would step in and fund the increase through the accommodation supplement, saying, and I quote, "I do not expect this to impact individuals." We have some questions that we've prepared for the councillors to consider prior to voting on the resolution today, because we believe there is going to be an impact on individuals. So we've got a copy of those questions with us, so I'll go through them. Question 1, in relation to option 2, being the 30% immediate increase. How has the 30% been determined? How have previous annual increases been determined? Is the approach proposed consistent with previous years? And if not, why not? In relation to the social housing fund within the budget, given that the money for social housing is ring-fenced, if the 30% increase goes ahead, how will this additional revenue be used? And in connection with that, has there been any discussion for the social housing policy to be amended?
Third question relates to the residents impacted. Has the council investigated how any proposed increases will impact residents and their individual cases? And have these scenarios been shared and considered by the councillors voting? The consultation for both option 1 and 2, what will the consultation process look like? What is the communication plan for the residents? Lastly, regarding the 17A review, I understand that social council housing is a complex area, particularly in regard to funding and the council's inability to gain access to income-related rent subsidies. I also understand that a 17A review is required to take place. Before you consider such high rent increases, would it not be appropriate to complete the 17A review first with all the facts for the benefits not only of the tenants but all of us as a community? There are two main classes of individuals housed in units at present: those over 65 and receiving New Zealand Super, and those with permanent mental or physical disabilities receiving between $406 and $516 per week in benefits or superannuation. The accommodation supplement for Area 3 is capped at a maximum of $80 per week. However, as that amount is paid pro rata, dependent on how much rent is charged, for the average tenant in current council units, that's approximately $20 a week. If council is intending to meet their budget shortfall of $5.5 to $7 million over the course of long-term plan, by increasing the amount of accommodation supplement received from MSD, then rents will potentially be rising at an astronomical rate, far greater than residents may be able to manage on fixed and limited incomes. Social housing is not a potential revenue stream. Social housing is a social good. It reflects the values and commitment we have as members of this society to care for and give dignity to the most vulnerable amongst us. We are asking for restraint and considered reflection before voting on a resolution for increases, as the true weight and impact of this proposal must be discussed with those it affects and those representatives of the community who support and assist this vulnerable population. We thank you for considering us today. He waka iki noa. We are all in this boat together. We yield any remaining time to the Chair.
Kia ora, thanks ladies. Any questions? I think I've picked up the majority of those questions so we can when we address the report shortly. So just give me a nod from the audience if you think I've missed something, but I think I've encapsulated that. Just a question from Councillor Booth.
Yeah, I guess the figure of 30%, I didn't realise we'd spoken about a number like that, but whereabouts did you get that?
In today's agenda, it's proposed as option 1 and option 2 for council to consider is 9.15. Option 1 is an immediate increase of 30% and sorry, apologies. Option 2 is the immediate 30% increase, and it states in there effective immediately. While the report's preferred option is option 1, we are very concerned that option 2 is on the table.
Yeah, I think from the point of view of the council that they provide services at cost, at the minimum. So if everyone else is subsidising the cost of social housing, you actually need to be recouping the amount and not making money, as you mentioned. But there is a cost to providing that, and plus the upkeep of the housing. So in other words, really we should be charging roughly 130% of the cost of the housing in order to allow for depreciation and the upkeep of those to a certain standard. So I guess it's only at cost, whatever those numbers might be.
One of our biggest concerns with what we saw in the agenda was it being put forward as an option with there being no consultation with the vulnerable community. And so I understand that there's option 1 and option 2, but that being in there, and I know what you're saying, I know you referenced that 130% as what is happening in Christchurch, but it's the lack of consultation not happening with that option 2.
The other thing to consider with that as well is that council was briefed in the last meeting that the social housing program currently runs in the black. It doesn't run in arrears. It is self-funded. It doesn't receive any ratepayer income, and it is ring-fenced, so it can only be spent on social housing.
Yes, we're waiting to see those numbers. We haven't seen those numbers officially yet.
No, look, that's cool. And the 30% was largely picked up. I've had a conversation with Brian, who's running our social housing, and we believe that's basically at least below market rent. The conversations that we've also had, but I'm glad you picked up on this because this has been a conversation we've been having for a year, and then it's been raised again by Councillor Pye, which is really good, and we need to have that discussion around how we better provide and deliver this service within the community. But the conversation has also always been around working closely with MSD around being neutral as far as the costs. The key thing that we want to do at the moment so we can deliver better for our community in the Timaru district is that funding can come from taxpayer, from central government, back to support councils through income-related rent subsidies and the other likes, if we can do that efficiently, and through subsidies through MSD. I'll let you speak to it in a little bit. But it's always aimed at being cost neutral or very small incremental costs, as we traditionally would do. So we're very, very, very conscious about those people that are vulnerable sitting in within this housing stock, but we think we can do it better because at the moment we're probably roughly about $500,000 under what we should be generating in that. And if we can have that cost neutral to residents, but also have central government funding, everyone loves Wellington money coming back into the district, means that we can reinvest into that stock if we don't do anything in the community housing provider space, which will be part of that 17A review. So it's very much around getting the money back into the district when that money's available. Because at the moment, we're not doing this well. We can do it a lot better, and it means that we can provide better for the residents and community. So that's basically but I will talk to your questions and pick up on those when we discuss the item.
Thank you very much.
No worries. Pleasure. Thank you. Thank you. Great to have a full public forum. We really appreciate that. So also, councillors will be aware, and I was out with staff and Councillor Oliver in the weekend out to Rangitata weekend before, and we received a petition that is in your notes as an appendix, and it is Save the Rangitata Southside Motor Camp. There's over 100 odd signatures in there, and officers and myself and Councillor Oliver went and met with some of those. It's a work in progress. There's nothing on the agenda as far as actually closing the motor camp, but there is costs associated with the sewage treatment out there that needs to be dealt with. But a very passionate community out there is pretty keen to see that motor camp stay, and so I will just move that we receive that petition. Can I have a seconder for that? Councillor Pye, thank you. Any discussion on that? Any questions? That'll come out in future meetings. I will move that. All those in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. Thank you. So go now to urgent business. Anything that I'm aware of? No. So we've picked up those things